Hey guys, welcome to The Drop. I'm Neha and today we're going to be discussing Downton Abbey, the movie. With me I've got Muneeb, Qadir. Thank you for joining us, Muneeb.
Thank you for having me.
So, Downton Abbey, this hugely popular show, was the movie as good?
So there has been a lot of debate going on, and it is still going on as to whether they really needed a movie after the series had ended its run. Way back in 2015, that was when the last series had aired. So did they really need a movie right now, and does the film have anything new to offer? I might also feel that this felt like an extended version of the television series. It could have been a one-off Christmas special as well, because they have been doing a lot of Christmas specials in the past few years where they have subplots going on alongside the main characters and their main plots by and large. So in that sense, it does feel like an extension of where we left off last time. Nevertheless, for Downton fans like me, logic goes out of the window. What really matters is that whether it's the extension takes the form of a television series, a one-off television episode, or then a film, the way it has turned out to be now. So far as that you're continuing the story, you're taking us back to our favorite characters, we're all glad and well and happy. So the question here is that even after all that while, and despite the fact that now the story is out, it's continuing in a film form, was it worth the wait, and was it even worth continuing the story? You see, we go back to our favorite estate, Downton Abbey, which is in real life known as Highclere Castle, and we've taken back to that mansion and its characters with their own stories to follow, with their own plots which are developing every now and then. And the last time that we left the story was in 1925, and this one starts in 1927. And the main event in the film is the royal family is officially visiting Downton Abbey.
The King and Queen are coming to stay.
What? Here we go.
And that has sent everyone from the upstairs, part of the estate to downstairs in a huge frenzy. There is excitement, there's a lot of anxiety.
We can relate to that, can't we?
A lot,
We've
so
got a royal visit coming up.
Just 2-3 days ago, I read it on the internet that royal visit is due in Pakistan as well. We've got Wills and Kate, Prince William and Kate Middleton visiting Pakistan from 14th to 18th October. And my immediate reaction was, having seen Downton Abbey movie recently, that I feel like a Downton character myself. And why do I also feel that we in Pakistan have to put up our best show when we've got a royal visit coming up? Because there's always been a fascination for the royal family, hasn't there been? There's something very far removed from our ordinary lives whenever we look to the royal family. And interestingly, Downton Abbey, which is about the Crawleys and the Crawley family, they themselves are depicted as the British aristocracy of those times by Lord Julian Fellows, who is the person at the helm of Downton Abbey, the script writer, and whose brainchild this production is. So even if even when the aristocrats shown and depicted in the Grantham estate of Downton Abbey in the film are so taken aback with the news of a royal visit, one can only understand how the impact of it might be felt upon ordinary civilians like us.
Now, in terms of the storyline of the movie, it's been said that it was a bit underwhelming, and a lot of the characters didn't get to, have their fill. You didn't get to have a fill, of the characters, and it was like dragged out a bit, or too short in some cases. Do you agree?
So you see, the plot outline of this film is basically, like I've just mentioned, that there's a royal visit. The King and Queen, at that time King George V and his wife Queen Mary, are due to visit Downton Abbey, and that is basically the plot. That is the plot, that there's a royal visit. So you can well imagine that there isn't a lot of scope for many twists and turns in the story. There isn't any suspense really. I mean, we're sitting here and I'm kind of reviewing this film, but there aren't even a lot of spoilers for me to give away. It's as plain as that. It's
predictable.
Taking us back to our favorite characters. And so there have been a lot of voices in the press, in the British media especially, that why did we need a film? There was no story to speak of, there was no plot. But like I said, that we Downton loyalists, for us, just giving an insight into where our characters are 2 years down the line, where we had left them off, that is quite enough. And in that way, there are a lot of things developing and a lot of plots brewing.
But that begs the question: did it have to be a cinema event? Couldn't it have been like a TV movie?
You see, I just said that it doesn't matter whatever platform it is on.
So
far as you taking us back to our favorite characters, that's when good. It's a win-win situation. But there are interesting plot points here as well. You know, Lady Edith, we had left her off at a place where she was the ugly duckling, and then she, you know, materialized into this beautiful swan of the family, the one who was always neglected, and now she's married off to, you know, a Pelham who has a huge estate, and she is even more aristocratic than her own family, which had been neglecting her so far. So where does she stand now? How is her life post-marriage? And Lady Mary, you know, she got married for the second time. How's her life going on after she married a car mechanic basically and a car racer? And then there's obviously Tom Brinson, the chauffeur who had married Lady Sybil, the third daughter who had died in season 3. Where does he stand now that, you know, he was the rebellion in the family?
And Dame Maggie Smith was in the
And Dame Maggie
show.
Smith, because a lot of people were surprised when it was announced that she would be returning. Because interestingly, Dame Maggie Smith hasn't been mincing her words that she isn't a Downton fan herself, being a huge part of that show, and that she hasn't even watched a single episode of the show. She said that on Graham Norton show. And she kept on saying when the season ended 3 years ago that she didn't see any scope for her character returning. She said that her character would be like 102 years old now. And so the biggest surprise and a delightful one for all of us was that she was returning for the film. And the question then is, did she have those one-liners? You know, she's very famous for saying what's a weekend in season 1. Did she have one-liners? And the good news is plenty of those, you know, such as I'm an expert in every matter, or, you know, sarcasm is a lowly substitute for wit. So these kinds of one-liners, and of course the classic, I never argue, I only explain.
I never argue, I explain.
So there are those one-liners from her, and this time she has a rival in the form of a distant removed cousin played by Imelda Staunton, which is the character of Lady Bradshaw. And there's a rivalry because Dame Maggie Smith's character has eyes upon Lady Bradshaw's estate. She wants her son to inherit that property, and so there's a lot of tension. And of course, Lady Bradshaw is Queen Mary's lady in waiting, so there's a lot of tension in Downton Abbey. Then there's also subplot related to, you know, Princess Mary. She was the king's daughter, and her troubled marriage life, and how she also finds some inspiration in the characters within Downton Abbey.
So overall, last question, good drama, how many marks would you give it out of 10?
That's a difficult question because, you know, I find ranking very difficult. You see, even though I've said there isn't much of a plot to speak of, it does, there are some surprises there. There's, of course, you know, the question of the mixture and the mixing of the different classes. We do get to see the class system. Perhaps, you know, they've overstretched it a bit. There's one scene where Thomas, who is basically the butler, is shouting and screaming at Lord Grantham, which wasn't what the class system used to be like. So they have taken a lot of liberties, but there are some important points to make. There's a child whose parenthood is hidden. You know, there's that subplot. And then, of course, this, I don't know whether you take it as a spoiler or not, but word of caution, if you do take it as a spoiler, ignore. And if you want to listen to this, there's an announcement. I'm not giving away anything, but there's an announcement towards the end of the story that one major character will not be returning. And that is a bit heartbreaking. I feel that there might be a sequel to this because the makers of the film have been saying that there is a huge possibility of another sequel, and I would like that, but without one major character. But overall, the film, I think, was very satisfactory. There's a reason why even on Rotten Tomatoes, which is very strict, it stands at an 83% certified fresh rating. So in my estimation, as a Downton fan, I would like to give it a 9 on 10, but to be more neutral, it has to be at least 8 out of 10. It takes us back to a world, you know, where we did not have social media, iPhone, and the interesting thing is that, you know, the characters and basically the actors of the movie have been going on saying that this is a fantasy film. Although there are no CGI effects, no supernatural characters, but it does take us to a world which is far removed from the one we live in today. So it's a great escape. Yes.
Well, on that note, thank you so much,
Thank you very much.
That's all for today. We'll be back with a new episode very soon. You were watching The Drop. We're really excited to share fantastic content with you
on all the fun topics.
Please subscribe to our channel by
clicking on the subscribe button below.